In this week's video, guys, we are talking about rookie mistakes that a lot of people make on a serger, how we can avoid them, or how we can fix them if you make the same rookie mistakes. Stick around, guys. The second one, I promise you, you're not going to want to miss. Welcome to another video, guys. Happy Valentine's Day. I thought I would share a little love today on our video since it is almost Valentine's Day, hence the Valentine's Day decor behind me. And the fabric I'll be using in a little bit for my demonstrations has even kind of got that Valentine's vibe. So why not, right? It's almost Valentine's Day. Let's embrace that. I just wanted to take a minute to say, wow. I have been so blown away by everyone's comments on my videos. And you guys, the whole reason that I wanted to start this channel was to kind of build a little community. And I know I said it in another video, but share our wins, but also share our struggles and things that we can do to fix those struggles. And I've been blown away by all of the love in the comments and everyone sharing their tips and tricks as well. And that is exactly what I was going for this channel. And I'm already getting that feel. So I just wanted to say thank you, because that just makes YouTube so much better, I feel like. And it feels like we're a family, and I feel like sewing for a good while, it seemed like a lost art. And I've just been really excited to see renewed interest in it, and that it's been coming back, and it's something that I want to teach to my kids, at least basic sewing, you know, as they grow up, and we can pass it along. And so I just want to take a minute to say thank you so much. This is exactly what I was looking for, and I'm so excited to continue this journey with you guys all. And please keep the comments and the tips and things coming, guys, because I've loved reading all of them. And without further ado, we're going to get into today's video. So the very first rookie mistake that I see often on sergers is just using your serger to finish seams, which that's great. And honestly, that's why I bought a serger. It was to create my seams and have them look nice, have them look professional. But then as I had my serger longer and longer, I think I've had a serger for maybe like 8 years, I started realizing that there was so much more to it than just finishing my seams. And so that's what I'm here to show you today. So in case you didn't know, there's so many things your serger can do. For the sake of today's video, I don't think I have time to show them all to you. So if you have things that you know a serger is good for that I'm not covering in the video, feel free to drop them in the comments, because some of them I may not even know about. And I love to learn things too. But the two that I'm going to talk about today are gathers. We talked about gathers on a regular sewing machine last week. So guys, on a serger, gathers is just as easy, and it gives you a beautiful finish. And I just absolutely love gathering on my serger. And then we're also going to talk about hemming on your serger. And then after we talk about that, we're going to talk about the second rookie mistake. And that one was my mic drop moment. So stick around for that one for sure. If you don't watch anything else in this video, stick around for rookie mistake number 2. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss that one. Okay, guys, so on my serger, in order to create nice gathers, I do need to turn my differential feed up. I turn it up all the way, but so it's at 2. And then this is my stitch length. I'm going to turn that up as far as it'll go, and that's going to be at 4. And then for mine, so a lot of machines, if you just change your differential and your stitch length as high as it will go, it will give you some nice subtle gathers. For my particular machine, it really doesn't. So what I need to do is I'm going to tighten both of my needles as well. Typically, I have my needles set at a 4, but in order to get great gathers, I need to have both of my needles set at about 7.5. Okay, so I have all of my settings ready to go, and now we're just going to create some nice gathers. All right, so I have my fabric in my machine. Let's go ahead and sew some gathers, guys. Check this out. Look at how nicely it gathers. I could probably, if I wanted even more gathering, tighten my needles a little bit more just to give me some more gathers, but beautiful, nice, even gathers. And it was so, so easy. And then once we create our gathers, if I were attaching a gathered skirt to a bodice, this top piece here would be my bodice piece. This is of course my gathered, which would be my skirt piece. And if I just sew those together, it will come out so beautifully. So here we are. This would be my gathered skirt piece. This would be my bodice piece. And it just comes out perfectly beautiful. And I just absolutely love gathering this way. Okay, so another thing besides gathering that we can use our serger for is hemming. And I know that I never really thought about hemming this way, but especially if you're hemming denim, if I'm a boy mom ×3, and a lot of times I'm having to hem their pants or their denim, things like that. This hem is actually really great for that. And I use it sometimes on some of my dresses that I make because again, it just kind of gives it that like unique finish that I really like. I like to give my clothing that I make like sort of a unique flair. So this kind of gives that to me rather than doing just a standard hem. So for hemming on your serger, you're going to fold up your hem just like you would normally do. I am partial to about a 3/4 inch hem. So I would just go ahead and fold it like this and then go ahead and iron that. And then once that hem is in place, you're just gonna fold it back on itself just like this. So you kind of have that double fold here. We have the initial fold for your hem, and then we're gonna fold that back on itself so that we have a double hem here. And I'll show you up close so you can see what I just did. And then let's go ahead and hem it on our serger. So for hemming on the serger, I'm just going to go ahead and fold my fabric right side over in my normal hem length. So I usually do about a 3/4 inch hem. So I'm just gonna fold that over like I normally would, go ahead and iron it to keep it in place. And then I'm just gonna fold the fabric kind of back on itself there and create like this nice double fold. So hopefully you guys can see that. And then I'm just gonna take this edge right through the serger and it's going to give me a really nice finished hem. And this is a finished serger hem. So you can see it gives me this nice clean line. I actually think I'm gonna grab different fabric and run it through one time just to give you a better example because it's really hard to see here. But hopefully you can see I have this nice crisp line right there. And then what I will often do after this is just go ahead and go over my seam with a top stitch and just make it really look crisp. But this is such a really, really fun way for you to hem. If you're doing, like I said, denim, slacks, things like that, this is great for that. And I do use it on some of my dresses only because I think it's like a really cute and unique detail. So something that definitely I did not know that a serger could do when I first got a serger. So hopefully this is new to you and it helps you also. Let me just show you on another color fabric as well and see if it shows up maybe a little bit better. All right, I'm actually gonna go ahead and hem this yellow fabric and see if that gives me a result that is a little bit easier for you all to see. All right, so here's the finished hem on our yellow fabric, and if we flip that over, there you go. So much easier to see it on this fabric. So it just gives it a really unique, fun little hem detail there. And I will oftentimes just go ahead and throw a top stitch right along that seam there, give it a crisp, clean finish. And you have a really unique detail that you can use on dresses, on, like I said, slacks, denim, many, many things. And I just think it's really fun and really different. Okay, so we're done with rookie mistake number 1. And rookie mistake number 1 was using your serger only to finish seams when it has so many other functions. But rookie mistake number 2, this is a huge one. So whenever I sew, I really do like to color match my threads. And when I started sewing, I had the Brother 1034 serger, great serger, and it was really easy for me to learn on that machine. But as I started sewing to sell and my workload got a little bit more hefty, I guess you could say, I bought a little bit of a more upgraded serger. So I bought a Juki, but I kept my Brother as a backup serger and also as a dark thread serger, because I hate rethreading my serger to change thread colors. Are you that way too? Do you hate changing your thread colors? Because I felt like it took so much time. And so what I actually started doing was just using like off-white and using that for like all of my light color fabrics. And then I kept black or like navy or dark gray in the Brother serger and used that for all of my dark colors instead of thread matching, because I just found myself frustrated and it just took so much time, and I'm all about time efficiency. So this one is for you. Can you tell I'm excited? I hope you're excited. So I'm going to show you a way that you can change your threads without completely having to rethread your whole machine every single time you want to change colors. So you can color match, but you don't have to take a ton of time, okay? So let's get to it. Okay, so what I'm actually gonna do, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna snip all of my threads that I have in my serger right now. I'm gonna go ahead and snip those off, but I'm going to snip them off like right about here, okay? Each one, so that they're still coming up over these loops, but you have a little bit extra hanging down. So let's go ahead and snip those. Okay, so I'm actually changing my thread from white to navy in this, for the sake of this video. So I just snipped all of my white threads and I took those off of my serger and I replaced all of my spools with navy thread. So you can see I've got navy thread in my hand and white thread. So what I'm going to do now, and sorry in advance because my camera like hyper focuses, so if it goes out of focus, I'm really sorry. I'm going to try to do it so it doesn't. I'm just going to take my white thread and all of my navy threads and I'm going to tie them together in a little knot here. So just kind of like this. Hopefully you're catching all of this on the camera. It's really hard to do this and like hold the camera at the same time. Okay, so we've got that little tiny knot there. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to go ahead and do that with all 4 of my threads. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and knot all 4. Okay, so all of my threads are knotted. I went through and did little knots on all 4 of my threads. Now here is where the trick comes in. So I used to do this, and then I would cross my fingers and hope and cross my fingers some more that the knots would stay when they went through my machine, until I learned this handy dandy little trick. I am going to take every single one of my tensions and I am going to turn them all to 0. Every one, my upper looper, lower looper, both needles, I'm going to take them all down to 0. Now, if you have finicky tensions, as some sergers do, take a quick picture of your settings so that when you're done rethreading, you can get all of your settings back to exactly where they were. But let's go ahead and take all of our tensions down to 0. All right, and then I'll show you what comes next. All right, so all of your tensions on your tension dial should be to 0. And now if you grab your thread tail in the back of your serger and gently pull on it, it should move your threads. Let's see if you can see that it is pulling my threads through. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually just pull that all the way through until all of my threads pulled through and are on the back of my machine. Okay, so we're just pulling our threads right through the back, all the way through until I'm going to start seeing navy threads coming out the back here. And that's it, guys. You can see all 4 of my navy threads are pulled through. Here's the white thread that I pulled out. I just pulled that all through. And now I'm just going to go ahead and lower my presser foot and chain off as if I had just completely rethreaded my entire machine. All right, let's do our starting chain here. Are you guys ready for this? Here we go. And we have a beautiful navy chain. So here's all of that white thread that I pulled through, and we just pulled it through until the navy threads came through. Now that the navy threads are all through and I know the machine is working, I'm gonna go ahead and set all of my dials and my tensions back to where they were originally. Okay, so I have to know, you guys, did you know that? Because I'm gonna tell you, when I first learned that, my mind was completely blown because I knew about the tying trick, like tying your new thread to your old thread and trying to pull it through, but sometimes the knots would come undone or it would get stuck or whatever. And I would say it worked maybe 50% of the time. And then the other 50% of the time, I just had to cut everything and start over again. But since I've been using this method of turning all of my tensions down to 0 and then just pulling it out the back until I see the new thread, and then I'll chain off the new thread and then send all of my tensions back to normal, it works every single time. And let me tell you, it takes me 2 minutes maybe to do that. Sometimes more, sometimes less, it just depends. But on average, I would say it takes me 2 minutes, which is probably less, but that was so much less time than it took me to completely rethread my machine every single time. And if you like rethreading your machine, or you've gotten so used to rethreading your machine and you would rather do it that way, that is totally fine. Everybody's mileage may vary. This is just something that works really great for me and that blew my mind because I did not know about it. And so I'm passing that on to you. Hopefully that helps somebody. And our last rookie mistake that we're going to talk about today. So our first rookie mistake is using our serger only for seams. Our second rookie mistake is rethreading our machine every single time we want to switch thread colors. And the third rookie mistake is we're going to talk a little bit about tension, because this is one of the most asked things that people ask me about, or that I'll see posted on Facebook, things like that. And I just want to talk a little tiny bit about tension because, again, every machine is different. The sweet spot in tensions for my machine may not be the exact same as the tensions for your machine. So I'm going to just show you some tensions on my machine and switch them up a little bit and show you what it should look like. And if you have a stitch that looks like that looks like something it shouldn't, I'm gonna try to diagnose that problem for you real quick and give you some things that you can try so that you can have that beautiful serged edge on every single thing that you sew. So we're gonna talk mostly about just the two main tension issues that I see a lot and that I get asked a lot. And then I will say from then on, if you are still struggling with anything tension related, it could be your differential speed. Play around with your differential speed and try to find the sweet spot for your machine. Each machine is different. And your looper tensions, just play around with your tension dials. But I am going to address the two most common, because I would say 60% of the time, probably more than half the time, one of these two things that we're going to talk about today are the issue. And so hopefully that will help you and will at least get you started and knowing where to look into diagnosing any tension issues that you might have. So for tension issues, I'm going to start with the one that I get asked the absolute most. And that is, the culprit is usually the needle tension. And it's when you can see your stitches through the underside of your garment, almost like your stitches look really loose. So let's address that one first. I'm going to, because it usually seems to be the left needle, I'm going to take my left needle tension and I'm going to dial it back a bit. And then we're going to sew with an improper tension, and I'm going to show you what that will look like. So this is an issue that I actually see a lot. And if you look at your seam, you can see the needle thread showing through the right side of my garment, and we don't want that. So this is one of the most common issues, I would say. And usually when I see that, or when I am being shown that, the easiest way to remedy that is just to tighten up your needle. Start with your left needle. That's the one that's usually the culprit. And if that doesn't work, then it might be your right needle that's being the rebel. So just try tightening your needle threads, and that should remedy that situation. When you are sewing with a correctly threaded needle or a correctly tensioned needle, you're not going to be able to see those threads through your garment. So the second most common tension issue that I see or get asked about is typically a thread that is not properly seated in the tension dial in your tension discs here. So let me show you. I actually went ahead, I don't know if you can see, and I pulled this one out a little bit so it's not all the way seated in the tension disc. So I'm going to sew with it not correct and show you what that looks like. Okay, so hopefully you can see this, but you can see I have some looping threads and some craziness kind of going on the back of my fabric here. And that's because my needle was not properly seated. Now, depending on which thread it is that's not properly seated in the tension disc, you'll have different craziness going on here. But the easiest way for you guys to fix that, and what I do when I thread my machine, is I will just grab both ends of my thread, like, let's see if I can, and I'll just kind of give it a tug and make sure that every single one is seated correctly in the tension disc. That way you're not running into any tension issues when you're sewing. Okay, so when we're serging, what we're looking for is, let me just show you a little bit about how the stitch is going to look, the final stitch. If you're looking on this side, you can see, here, let's start with this side. You can see, it's a little difficult, but you can see our needle stitches. You can see the 2 rows of needles we have right here and right here. Okay, and then if you look at the top, you see a nice edge right along the top. Let me show you on the yellow fabric. I think it'll show up better. So we have our 2 rows of needle stitching right here. And then if we look at the top, we kind of have this row of stitching like right along the top. Hopefully you can see that in the camera there. That is what your serge seam should look like. You have equal parts of the upper and lower looper on both sides. We don't have one pulling down the other. They're nice and equal, and we have that line right across the top. And the only reason I bring up the tension with your seams is because if your tension is off, it will undermine the quality of your garment and the wearability of your garment. So we want to make sure that if you are struggling with tension, that we're able to fix that and get that right. Okay, that's going to do it for this week's video. I hope that something we went over today was helpful for you. And if you are just starting out sewing, hopefully this will give you kind of a guideline or a basis for beginning to diagnose any issues that you might have, especially with tensions. And if there's anything that you guys want to add that I didn't cover, because there really is so much with sergers, feel free to drop those in the comments as you guys have been doing, because I've been really loving reading those comments and replying to those comments, and I feel like they're not just helpful to me, but they're helpful for everyone else who's reading the comment section as well. So keep those comments coming, because I'm loving it. And if there's anything I didn't address that you do have a question about, feel free to drop that in the comment section as well. Until next week, everyone, happy sewing!